The third year of the drought had baked Haven's Creek to a brittle husk. Under a merciless sun, the fields were nothing but dust, and the air was so thick with heat it felt like a physical weight. Leo wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, his gaze falling on the grim faces of the other townspeople. Mayor Thompson claimed their suffering was punishment from the guardian of the valley, an ancient being they had angered. To appease this entity, a tribute was required. A partner, a companion to serve the guardian and win back its favor, bringing the rain. A lottery was held, a grim affair of trembling hands drawing slips of paper from a wooden box. When his brother's name was called, a terrible wail tore from his mother's throat. His parents clung to his brother, sobbing about the cruel injustice of fate. They tried to argue with the mayor, insisting that the tribute should be a woman, that sending a young man made no sense. The mayor's face remained a stony mask. The word partner was a pretty lie. Everyone knew the tribute was a sacrifice, meant to be consumed by the spirit. Male or female, the outcome was the same. A palpable wave of relief washed over the families who had been spared. Their whispers of consolation to Leo's parents were hollow, suggesting that one son was a small price for the survival of the entire town. His parents, choked with fury and grief, drove them away. A dark, secret part of Leo was glad. The universe was finally taking his brother away. Later that evening, after their tears had run dry, his parents turned their venomous glares on him. He could hear the unspoken question hanging in the suffocating air of their small house. Why couldn't he have been the one to die in his brother's place? It was the story of his life. His parents had always adored his brother, leaving Leo with scraps. They kept his brother plump and pristine while Leo's own clothes were worn thin. He had once tried desperately to earn their affection, working until his hands bled, but it was useless. He'd been branded a curse since birth, his arrival coinciding with his father inexplicably breaking his leg. He was an ill omen. Eventually, he'd stopped trying. But now, they wanted him to be a substitute sacrifice. It was a waking nightmare. That night, for the first time in his memory, they smiled at him. They handed him a glass of water, which he drank without suspicion. The last thing he heard before darkness claimed him was their murmur about him taking his brother's place. When consciousness returned, it was fragmented. He was seated inside a crude wooden box, his hands and feet bound, a cloth stuffed in his mouth. A profound weakness suffused his limbs. He struggled, but only a muffled sound escaped. Through a crack in the wood, he heard his parents' voices outside, reassuring the others that everything would be fine once the ritual was complete. The drugged water, the switch, it all slammed into him. He was the offering now. A gust of wind momentarily lifted a piece of loose fabric covering a gap, revealing the terrifying expanse of a canyon before him. He heard the mayor's incantation, a plea to the guardian to accept the offering and grant them rain. Then, the world tilted violently as he was sent tumbling over the edge. The wind screamed in his ears as he plunged, and he closed his eyes, a bitter thought crossing his mind. Was he supposed to announce himself to the guardian as delivered goods? He didn't die. He landed with impossible softness, completely unscathed. The ropes that bound him were inexplicably gone. He pulled the gag from his mouth, spitting out dust and climbing to his feet. The canyon floor was a place forgotten by the sun, a pocket of cool shadows and resilient moss. And he was not alone. A man was there, and Leo found himself locked in a gaze with him. The stranger was in a terrible state. His fine clothes were shredded and stained with blood, his pale skin a canvas of countless injuries. Dark hair cascaded around him like spilled ink. Heavy, archaic-looking chains pierced his body, pinning him to the rock face. For all his suffering, he was more battered than Leo. At the sound of Leo's movement, the man lifted his head. Golden eyes, luminous even in the gloom, blinked twice before widening in shock, then shifting to a profound confusion. He tilted his head, a gesture that reminded Leo, quite inappropriately, of a wary cat. The man's voice was a raw, grating whisper when he asked how Leo had gotten there. Leo decided the truth was the simplest path. He explained he was an offering from the town, a partner sent to appease the guardian and end the drought. A long silence followed this declaration. Finally, the man reluctantly admitted that he was, in fact, the guardian Leo was looking for. Leo's eyes drifted to the chains, the blood, the posture of utter helplessness. He swallowed hard. Perhaps deities had their own peculiar tastes. He couldn't deny that if he'd known the guardian was this captivating, he might have volunteered. The being, Elias, seemed as baffled by Leo being his partner as Leo was by his predicament. As if to confirm Leo's words, a soft red light flared from Elias's chest and shot toward Leo, wrapping around his wrist and forming a glowing band that pulsed in time with another that had appeared on Elias's own. A deep blush spread across Elias's face, coloring the tips of his ears a delicate pink. He stammered, insisting it was all nonsense and that he would send Leo back up to live a normal life. The effort cost him, and he coughed, fresh blood trickling from his lips. In Leo's mind, a guardian should be untouchable, remote. This being was just tragic. It stirred something in him. He stepped forward and used his sleeve to gently wipe the blood from Elias's chin. He glanced up at the sliver of blue sky visible from the chasm floor. It was a long way up. He looked back at Elias, whose weakness was palpable. A flicker of suspicion ignited in Leo. Could this broken creature truly send him anywhere? Who had ever heard of a divine being so utterly wretched? Besides, Leo realized with a strange sense of calm, he had no desire to return. That house held nothing for him. Staying here, teasing this thin-skinned deity, seemed a far more interesting prospect. He plopped down on the dusty ground, crossing his arms with an air of finality. He declared he wasn't leaving. He was the guardian's partner now, and that made him Elias's responsibility. Elias stared, speechless, clearly unaccustomed to such audacity. After a long moment, he tried a different tactic, offering to grant any wish Leo desired if he would just leave this place. Leo countered by describing the town's plight, the starvation, the death, the desperate hope that the guardian would bring rain. A bitter, fleeting smile touched Elias's lips. He told Leo to go, that he couldn't help them. The drought was not his doing, and he would not bring the rain. He spoke of cosmic justice, of reaping what you sow, before closing his eyes, a clear dismissal. Unfazed, Leo moved closer. He reached out and lifted a lock of Elias's dark hair, finding it impossibly soft. He tucked it behind Elias's ear, his fingers brushing against the man's cheek and leaving a faint red mark on the pale skin. Elias's eyes snapped open, his voice sharp. He called Leo a degenerate and demanded he stop. The sudden movement caused the chains to rattle ominously, and Elias let out a choked gasp as they tightened, biting deeper into his flesh. Fresh blood welled and dripped to the ground. He clenched his fists, veins standing out on his arms as he rode out the wave of agony. When he could speak again, his voice was even weaker. He gestured to his own broken state as proof that he was powerless to help anyone, trapped in a sunless purgatory between life and death. Leo's resolve only hardened. He declared that this was all the more reason to stay. He was his partner, for better or for worse. He leaned in close, feigning hurt, and whispered, asking if Elias was disappointed, if he had been hoping for a more beautiful offering. Elias panicked, stammering that it wasn't what he meant. Leo pressed his advantage, softly calling him my love, asking if he still intended to send him away. The endearment shocked Elias into silence. Leo's gaze fell back to the chains. He questioned how a revered guardian could end up in such a state, wondering aloud if some powerful enemy had done this. Elias's face paled further. He turned his head away, his silence a clear refusal to answer. The air grew thick with a sorrow that seemed to emanate from him. Trying to break the heavy mood, Leo asked for his name, reasoning that he should at least know what to call his partner. Annoyed, Elias snapped that he was not his partner, but he answered anyway, Elias. Leo decided then and there that he would help him. How could he not? Besides being unfairly handsome, Elias was in trouble. It was better than letting him rot here. Leo launched into a rambling Ed version of his own story, the unloving parents, the favored brother, how he'd been sent as a substitute. He framed it as fate, assuring Elias he would find a way to free him. He pointed out that he'd survived the fall without a scratch, a sure sign of good fortune to come. Elias's response was a flat, definitive statement that it wouldn't happen. When Leo asked what he meant, Elias clarified, his gaze holding an emotion Leo couldn't decipher. He wouldn't have consumed him, and Leo was never going to die. Elias looked at the chains that bound him, explaining that his imprisonment was voluntary, a penance, and that the locks could not be broken. His attempt at comfort had backfired, plunging Elias into a deeper gloom. Elias then asked him, his voice soft, if his life had been very hard. Leo paused. Was it? He thought of the endless chores, of washing clothes in the freezing river until his bones ached and his hands were covered in chilblains. He remembered the sting of his father's belt. He had even thought of ending it all but never found the courage. Good thing, too, or he'd never have met Elias. He waved the thought away, telling Elias it was all in the past and not worth dwelling on. He urged Elias not to be so fixated on his own torment. Elias's lips moved, a whispered apology that Leo didn't quite catch. Then he fell silent, retreating into himself, unresponsive to anything Leo said. As night fell, a sudden, sharp cry echoed in the cavern. It was Elias. He was writhing, caught in a nightmare of immense pain, far worse than anything Leo had witnessed during the day. Muffled, broken sounds escaped his lips, as if he were trying to suppress his screams for Leo's sake. His body trembled violently. Fearing he might be dying, Leo rushed to his side, trying to wake him. In his delirium, Elias called out a name. Leo, he sobbed, his voice thick with apology. Leo froze. His mind went blank. How did Elias know his name? And why was he apologizing? Before he could process it, Elias's eyes, red-rimmed and brimming with tears, found his. He sounded like someone in the grip of a fever, pleading with a phantom. He confessed he was wrong, asking if Leo was angry with him, begging to be held again. He was like a shattered porcelain doll. His sobs so desperate it seemed he might break apart completely. The high and mighty guardian was begging him for comfort. A strange, unfamiliar ache spread through Leo's chest. Felt like a memory he couldn't grasp. Acting on an impulse he didn't understand, he leaned forward and gently kissed the tears from the corner of Elias's eye. They tasted of salt and sorrow. A faint smile touched Elias's lips. He leaned into Leo's touch as Leo stroked his hair, nuzzling against his hand and trying to burrow into his embrace, seeking warmth. The feel of his body was strangely familiar, as if they were long-lost lovers. When Elias tried to wrap his arms around him, The chains dug in again, but he ignored the pain, pressing closer. He whispered that it hurt, that he couldn't bear the torment anymore, and asked for forgiveness. Though Leo understood nothing, he whispered back that he was forgiven, that he would forgive him for anything. Elias looked at his face, and a look of profound relief settled over him before he finally succumbed to unconsciousness, leaving Leo alone in the darkness, utterly bewildered. The people of Havens Creek were out of time. With starvation imminent, desperation drove them to action. A group of men, led by Mayor Thompson, rappelled down into the canyon. Elias, sensing their approach, urged Leo to hide. From behind a large boulder, Leo watched. The mayor showed no surprise at finding Elias bound and broken. He had known all along. He began by apologizing, suggesting the guardian was displeased with their offering and that they had been tricked by Leo's family. He had his men drag Leo's brother forward, who was now a trembling, sobbing wreck, a pathetic shadow of his usual arrogant self. The mayor offered to bring Elias anyone he desired, begging for a drop of rain, a chance to live. Elias's reply was a cold sneer, his face a mask of disgust. He called them greedy and undeserving, telling them they had brought this upon themselves. The mayor's ingratiating smile vanished. He strode forward and struck Elias across the face, the slap echoing in the cavern. A surge of pure rage shot through Leo. He wanted to kill the old man. Elias caught his eye, a silent command to stay hidden. The mayor grabbed Elias by the throat, his voice dripping with menace. He said that while they might call him a guardian out of respect, he was nothing more than their prisoner. He threatened to burn the entire canyon to the ground, taking Elias with them if he didn't comply. After delivering his ultimatum, they left. Leo emerged from his hiding place, his mind racing. Elias, now calm and detached as if the threat meant nothing, finally told him the whole story. He was a nature spirit, a guardian of the land. 30 years ago, when a flash flood threatened to destroy the town, he had intervened, saving the people. The mayor, then a young man, had been among them. The grateful survivors, having lost everything, begged him for help. Moved by their plight, Elias had used his power to provide for them, creating wealth where there was none. But this act, a violation of the natural order, had severely weakened him, leaving him vulnerable. He had trusted the young mayor to find him a safe place to recover. Instead, their gratitude curdled into greed. The mayor and the other villagers conspired with a user of dark arts to trap him in the canyon, binding him with enchanted chains that fed on his energy and subjected him to nightly torment. They had spent 3 decades trying to bleed him dry of his power, but Elias had refused to yield. The drought was nature's own balancing of the scales, a consequence of their greed, and now they were making a final, desperate play by offering him a tribute. Leo was supposed to be a bargaining chip, or perhaps a plaything to break his spirit. Elias looked at Leo, his eyes filled with a deep, weary affection, and urged him to run before he got caught in the crossfire. Leo asked if he planned to just give in. Elias replied that he deserved it, that this was his atonement. A strange sense of self-loathing clung to him. Leo looked down at the glowing band on his wrist, the one that connected him to Elias. He replied that a partner sticks by their partner, that this bond between them couldn't be broken so easily. Elias, flustered as always by Leo's directness, insisted that Leo had a whole life ahead of him and shouldn't be tangled up with him. Their debate was cut short. The townsfolk were making their move. Torches rained down from the canyon rim, igniting the dry brush. Fire spread with terrifying speed, closing in around them. The space grew smaller, the air thick with smoke that stung Leo's eyes and choked his lungs. He truly believed they were going to die. With a surge of fatalistic courage, he moved to Elias and kissed him on the lips. If he was going to die, he might as well die in the arms of a fallen god. To his surprise, Elias was the one who panicked. For the first time, raw fear showed on his face as he screamed for Leo to run. Leo laughed, a ragged, hopeless sound. Where could he run? At least they would die together. Perhaps in the next life they could be lovers for real. Elias suddenly grew calm. He called Leo's name, his voice steady, and told him to come closer. As Leo approached, Elias pulled him down and captured his lips in a kiss that was less tender and more desperate, a biting, urgent claiming. He forced Leo's mouth open, and Leo felt something. A warm, liquid light slide down his throat, searing a path to the core of his being. An explosion of pain and light erupted in his mind, and with it came a flood of memories. He remembered. He was Leo, yes, but he had been something else before. A spirit, a being of shadow and twilight who had fallen hopelessly in love with a luminous, golden-eyed guardian named Elias. He had pursued him relentlessly until the cold deity finally melted in his arms. But they were from different worlds, and he had kept his true nature a secret. His downfall came when he executed a corrupt man who had used his own power to murder an innocent family. Elias saw only the act of killing, not the reason. He saw a dark spirit slaying a man of the light. His black and white worldview, his rigid adherence to a code of balance, allowed for no gray areas. He believed he had been deceived, that their love was a lie. He had condemned Leo, claiming he was an aberration who had to be returned to the cycle of reincarnation. Leo remembered the cold steel of Elias's sword against his neck and the even colder words that shattered his heart. Elias had wiped his memories and cast him into the mortal coil to be reborn, over and over. Now, Elias had used the very last of his divine essence to awaken him. That was his atonement. He had been trapped in this canyon, suffering endless torment, to punish himself for what he had done to the one he loved. Tears streamed down Elias's face as he confessed. He explained that his years of imprisonment had taught him the folly of his rigid beliefs, that goodness and evil were not defined by one's nature but by one's heart. He had been so wrong. With his last breath, he confessed his love and told Leo to kill him, to take his revenge. He said he would die happy at Leo's hand. A brilliant light flared from Leo's hand. The enchanted chains turned to dust. Freed from their weight, Elias stumbled, and Leo caught him, his restored power flowing through him. The fire was no longer a threat. He held the weakened guardian close and leaped, landing softly on the canyon rim. Elias buried his head in Leo's chest, his voice muffled. He asked why Leo had saved him. Shouldn't he hate him? Leo admitted that he did or that he had. But he added that if Elias was to die, it would be by his hand alone, not by some pathetic fire. Elias shuddered. Then, with a surge of desperate courage, he pushed Leo to the ground, trying to tear at his clothes. He begged Leo to let him have this one thing before he killed him, confessing how much he had missed him. Leo easily stopped him, holding his wrists. The once powerful guardian was now as fragile as glass. He told Elias they would settle their accounts. He had hated him, yes. The betrayal had carved a wound that spanned lifetimes. But seeing him broken and tortured, willing to burn to death to save him, the anger felt distant. Elias was already punished. He watched as the guardian clung to the hem of his shirt, a gesture of complete surrender. Sighing, Leo flipped them over, pinning Elias beneath him. He wove a shield of shadow around them for privacy. He gently traced the scars on Elias's body, and under his touch, they began to fade. He asked how Elias planned to compensate him for a broken heart. In response, Elias wrapped his arms around Leo's neck, a silent, pleading offering. Leo captured his lips, and this time, the kiss was not about pain or memory, but a slow, deliberate reclaiming of what was lost. When they next saw his family, they were skeletal figures gnawing on tree bark. His brother lay motionless inside the house. When they saw Leo, alive and whole, a flicker of hope lit their dull eyes. They begged him for food. A cruel, cold part of him, the part that was not human, savored their desperation. His father began to curse him, calling him a disaster. Leo simply kicked him in the chest, watching him spit blood, and agreed with a laugh that he was a disaster, here to collect their debts. Elias, ever the compassionate one even in his weakened state, moved to intervene, but Leo held him back. The divine should not be stained by such filth. The town was already dying, consumed by the consequences of its own actions. Later, standing on a cloud high above the desiccated land, Leo held Elias close. The former guardian was now mortal, and he clung to Leo for balance. He asked if Leo, now that their past was revealed, would be willing to walk a mortal life with him. Leo smiled, a slow, predatory grin. He reminded Elias that while his power was gone, there were other ways to share energy, ways that were far more intimate. He leaned in, his lips brushing Elias's ear, and whispered a suggestion that made the fallen guardian blush from head to toe. The past was a scar, but the future was theirs to write.